All right, so episode 1 of Bunny Banter, the retake, um, with Khooblah Khon. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself like we did before.
Hi, yes. Hi, everyone. I am Khooblah Khan. I go by pronouns he, she, they, them, it, creature. Pretty much, I just want to be identified as whoever you want me to be identified as. Because I am like that. I Twitch. I Twitch. I also have an Instagram, and so yeah. I mean, come through. We always have a good old time in my dungeon. My dark dungeon.
Khooblah is your mirage. They appear however you want
Yes,
them to.
exactly. We creatures don't go by any definitions.
Exactly.
Okay,
You are undefinable. That's how
undefinable.
unique you are.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
So just a quick rundown of Bunny Banter for anyone who's watching from the good old space of YouTube right now. A rundown of Bunny Banter: we interview, we ask questions, we chill, we draw. If you're watching from the space of YouTube right now, then you're free to draw along as we talk. Creativity is a big component here, so anyone who doesn't think they're creative, you most definitely are. We're all creative by nature. Um, so basically, Khooblah is going to do the digital aspect. I'm going to do the traditional aspect, and whatever the viewer that is watching, the lovely people at home, whatever you choose to use, which is traditional, digital, sculpting, painting, whatever you want to use to follow along with us today, go ahead and do it.
Do it
So,
now.
so we're just gonna draw, not anything specific. It's just experimental stuff. We're here to hang out. We're here to chill. Um, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe, like, let me know what you think. So here we go.
Forewarning, my art is very disturbing and dark, but that's just how my art is. So please don't take it personally in any way. I promise you it won't get you tonight.
Yes, we are both dark, macabre, horror-based artists by trade. So if anyone watching is easily triggered by that kind of thing, please feel free to click away and wait for another Bunny Banter episode where we might be drawing something a little bit more lighthearted or cutesy, something that's a little bit more your taste, your flavor.
Yes.
But if you are not okay with that, and we totally understand, please click away. It's totally fine. We'll have new episodes coming in the coming weeks. So, but yeah, just a trigger warning now, a content warning for everyone. So yeah, but if you are a fan, let's say Trevor Henderson, Junji Ito, anyone that if you're familiar with them, then you know exactly what you're getting yourself into.
So, oh yeah, 100%, 110%.
So, also, did I tell you that Junji Ito actually commented on Trevor Henderson's work?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Junji Ito actually commented and said he really liked Siren Head, the concept of Siren Head.
OMG!
And he reacted to it, and Trevor posted on his Instagram, if you follow him on Instagram, and he was so excited about it. Which I don't blame him, because if I had a piece of my art put up in front of someone like Junji Ito and he said that he liked it, I think I could die happy.
Right, same here.
I'd be like, get my coffin Lord. Today, I am out.
Cremate me right now. Oh man, that's some.
Yeah, wow. That has to be such an honor for sure.
Totally. Oh heck yeah.
Like 100%. Like I mean, I've I've known about Junji Ito long before Trevor Henderson, but when I discovered Trevor Henderson, I was instantly sold on it. I
Right.
love his work.
Right.
It's very, I don't know, it gives me reminiscence of like the creepypasta days.
100%.
Obviously, like better done in some aspects.
100%.
But yeah, I love it a lot. Also, and call me biased because I am a horse girl, if anyone wants to know. I love Long Horse. I didn't know that he was a good guy until I watched a video on it. I didn't know Long Horse was actually a protagonist in his universe, but he is. Siren Head is not.
Right. Obviously, for some obvious reasons.
Yes. But he is very fun to draw. I will say that.
Yes.
Okay, so as I said, this is what you're going to get with this podcast. We're going to ask questions and then we're going to discuss and probably go on tangents. This is just how we are.
Yes. This is a real in-depth conversation. And we're just geeking because we're cool like that.
Exactly.
I don't know what I was going to say. And I'm drinking wine, so I might be blabbering a little bit much. So, Bunny, please tell me to shut up if I talk too much.
Okay, so first question of the interview, pretty basic question. What do you do primarily as a creator, as a creative soul?
Oh, damn, that's some deep shit. What I do as a creator?
You're like, this is deep. This wine is not helping me.
He wasn't ready. I'm just kidding. Honestly, I love when it comes to creativity, I listen to what I want to portray as within myself. So depending on a certain day, depending on how I'm feeling, usually I do drag. You know, I'll put on makeup on a certain way. If I want to be safe, I'll put on makeup that's safe for viewers, like on Twitch right now. But if I want to go, if I really want to become authentically myself, I will go 10 times darker than I usually am. It's just kind of like how my art is. Like people would see me as this positive person, but when it comes to looking at my art, they see a side of Khooblah that normally they don't really see in a way. So yeah, I as in terms of creativity, what I'm trying to say is I usually just see who Khooblah wants to be today and turn that into drag for my drag's existence.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I mean, honestly, and before I give my own answer, if you guys aren't aware, Khooblah is a drag artist.
Oh yes,
they're very much into drag artistry, which to me is one of the, in my opinion, hardest artistries out there. And I don't mean in the way of like getting into, but like perfecting in a way. And Khooblah is definitely up there with like the best that I've seen.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
They do drag on Twitch, I think twice a week, would you say?
Yeah, like I'm a part-time drag. So
but if you guys want to catch them in drag on stream where they play a lot of horror games, just a heads up. All the available links will be down in the description. You can go subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. So you can just look down there and that's where all the links will be. And if I don't remember, I'll just remind editor self to put the links in.
Right.
But as far as the creative, I guess, process for me, I've always been a very visual person. I learned best visually. So when I was always younger, I've always noticed that I had an extremely active imagination compared to other kids, even well into my adulthood. And the best way for me to interpret that was through art.
Yes.
And I made it very clear when I was still in school, because I'm 24 now. School is but an illusion at the moment anymore.
Right.
But it was very much a visual learner. So a lot of my teachers had to kind of adapt things to help me for visual learning. Um, but I would always notice that when I would listen to like my favorite music, or when I would read a book that I really like, I would always imagine everything in my head. I would imagine scenarios in my head to go with the music, like a music video. Or I would read books and I would imagine what's going on in the books and what the characters look like. It was like very much everything translated to visuals in my head. So I was,
Right.
and I've always been an artistic person since I was very young. I started drawing like since I could hold a pencil, really. um, and when I get really hyper focused on something, it's like, might as well say that it there's no dragging me out of it, especially art wise. But as far as a process goes, I have been into horror since I was a kid. And I know a lot of people be like, you watched horror when you were a kid? Yes, I did watch horror when I was a kid.
Same here.
Um,
Same here.
and I realized when I was drawing that like I had this epiphany when I was like 12 or 13. I was like, wait, I could take horror and I could mesh it with my drawings. So it was kind of like that artistic epiphany when I was like, I never thought of that before.
Right.
So I started drawing a lot of monsters, a lot of original characters. I got really heavily into character design, which I still do, sometimes to an unhealthy degree because I make way too many original characters. Um, but yeah, my process has always kind of been like just based in visual learning. So when I want to learn a new technique in art, I usually go to YouTube and be like, all right, let's just binge watch videos now.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's always kind of been like my process, I guess.
Nice.
But okay, I'm trying to think of how to phrase the next question. Um, what got you into, I guess, mainly drag artistry? What brought you to that where you're like, yeah, I want to pursue this as like my main aspect?
Yeah. So it all started when I was watching RuPaul Drag Race season 4. I got this season right now. Well, I'm pretty sure I got it right. When Sharon Needle won. I've always been like a dark kid, like dark in terms of like like a macabre. I was a goth at the time. I love drawing monsters. I love imagining being chased by a monster in my free time. Like I'm really like crazy. Um, and so when Needle won,
Mhm.
Sharon Needle's drag aesthetic is very like goth aesthetic, very different from the normal like pretty. I have to be feminine. My eyebrows have to be at a certain point, whatever. But she just didn't care about any of those boundaries, and she went all out from who she is. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know drag could be like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so ever since that, like like I was trying to put makeup on. I spent so many hours of YouTube just researching like how to do this, how to do that, da 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 da. And I think that was like about 8 years or something like that of me just playing with makeup. And just recently, I started to take drag seriously because, like I finally found Khooblah within me. Like I finally am able to portray who she is. I use she. Well, I mean, I don't go by any pronoun, but like she just popped in my head at the moment. And was able to portray that on my face, and I just became addicted to it. And I just told myself like the world needs to see Khooblah one way or another. I don't have to be big. I don't have to be small. I just need to let people know who she is, the creativity, the craziness, the realness, the creature. Khooblah's soul. I need people to see that in art form. And yeah, so like to answer your question, maybe like I've taken drag more serious within like a year and a half ish. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I mean, it answered the question for me for sure.
Okay.
So as far as drag goes, I guess this would be a good question to ask. What are a few of your drag inspirations?
Ooh, okay. It's kind of hard because I don't want to be seen as this guy is taking this other person's style. Like I want to try to be as different as possible. So, but like
I think for me, when I say inspiration, I always think of like the people that I originally see, and not so much like taking bits and pieces from them, but like seeing them and being like, oh, I want to do what they do. Like I want to make my own person out of what they do. Like that's my interpretation of an inspiration. Like you see the person and you're like, that's who got me into it right there. That I saw them and like that's who did it. I know you mentioned Sharon Needles.
Yes. So Sharon Needles introduced me the spooky side of who I am. Mm-hmm. And then there was this one other person. She's a Hmong artist. Her name is Yasmi. She's pretty much like the Lady Gaga of the Hmong community because I'm Hmong. I'm Hmong American. And pretty much when I say the Lady Gaga of the Hmong community, pretty much when Lady Gaga was like really out there, she was breaking down all barriers. I remember people were making fun of her because she was performing in a swimsuit. She was too scandalous. Like she was putting swear words on radio, like swear words on music that's being played on radio. Mm-hmm. So she was really just breaking down all those boundaries and don't give a flying F on what everybody says. And so going back to Yasmi, like in the Hmong community, we're very conservative. Mm-hmm. So like having someone out there that is willing to show their boobs or willing to sing a song that's out of the genre of the normacy of what it is to become a Hmong artist was huge. And she was getting a lot of backlash. But then the thing is, she didn't give any fucks. Oh, any flying Fs. Sorry, I forgot. And
you don't have to worry, honestly, because I'm nowhere near getting monetized on YouTube. So
okay. Okay, but yeah, like so like I've always had this weird self-esteem issue where I just can't be confident, but she has something that I really, really wanted, and it was that confidence. Mm-hmm. And so she was partially one of my drag inspirations for sure.
And I think that just goes to show that when you're a drag artist, specifically drag, like the inspiration doesn't have to come from a fellow drag artist.
Right.
It
It
can just
doesn't.
come from anybody. So anyone who exudes that kind of like confidence and power in who they are, I think is just
Right.
confidence and power is basically the embodiment of drag if you really think about it.
Exactly.
You have to be a drag artist to exude that.
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
Because I know I don't really do drag artistry because I wouldn't even know where to begin. But I see a lot of drag artists and like you or Shamey or Thixie, who is one of our lovely bio queens. And I see all that and I'm like, this, like, they just radiate the kind of energy that's like, I want that. I want that energy. That
Right.
I'm here, I exist, and if you don't like it, frankly, I don't give a fuck. Kind of
Right.
energy.
Exactly. 100%. You know, like, and yeah, like that's what really like motivated me to want to become a drag queen too, to find Khooblah as soon as possible because at the time I was very vulnerable. You know, like I was losing my identity pretty much. I was in depression. I didn't have anyone to relate to.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when that happened, when I'm starting to see people that are in drag that are able to exude that confidence, like it just pushed me
Mhm.
to be like, oh my god, I cannot wait to find Khooblah. Here it is, peekaboo.
And I think once, and I could be like not really speaking for you specifically, but speaking for someone else that might be watching. I feel like when you find whoever that energy is on the inside, like whoever that might be that displays it, I feel like it kind of unlocks a certain part of you that you didn't really know could cause that much happiness. And I think it kind of relates to that saying of you make your own happiness.
Right.
So
100%.
when you unlock that part of you, you're like, yeah, I can be happy because I'm being true to this part of me that has been there all along. I just needed to find a way to get it out.
100%.
So,
100%.
and I feel like that for you was 100% Kubla, was like unlocking her and bringing her out, and then that you were finally able to be like your true person that you like you wanted to be, and that was actually a genuine happiness that came out.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
and I could only hope that people watching um, can do that same thing. Maybe not now, but it's certainly in the future. If you like, if you want to find that, it's there.
It's there. Everybody has their own Khooblah. Everybody has their own definition of who they are within themselves. You know, like it just takes
Everyone
time.
everyone has their own creature.
Exactly.
And I feel like that applies a lot, especially to people, to our lovely transgender brothers and sisters and everyone in between. That applies to
Hmm.
them specifically. Once you realize who you are, maybe it's not a definite thing, but if you find something that makes you happy and makes you feel true to yourself, then go with it.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what people say, because someone's always going to have something to say, no matter what.
Right.
And what matters is what you have to say about yourself.
Exactly. Because that's all that matters.
Exactly.
You gotta find your own happiness. You gotta find your identity.
And it's never, your happiness is never with someone else. They can,
Oh hell no.
your happiness is never with someone else. They can amplify your happiness. Like someone can always be used to amplify your happiness if they make you feel that way, but they are not the source of your happiness.
Right.
The source of your happiness is yourself. Because if you're happy with
100%.
yourself, then you will be happy with anyone that amplifies that trueness that's already there.
100%. 100%.
So the next question, and I feel like we should, because I feel like we should break off into like maybe a few interesting, like easygoing questions.
Go for it.
If you were a superhero, what superpower would you want?
Ooh.
Just something fun to throw in there.
Right. I think um I've always been obsessed with Sailor Moon.
I mean, same.
So like anything that has to do with like exuding power from the moon
That
and
would be a good one.
with the bomb ass crystal that's within my chest, killing all these creatures or whatever, or demons, not creatures, because creatures are my family. That's what I want. I want that crystal. I want that crystal connection with the moon. Yeah. How about you?
I think for me, I don't really want to be the cliche person, but I know a lot of people are like, oh, I wanna be able to fly, or that kind of thing. Mine is
Right.
more of, I kind of want the ability to, I guess, what would be the correct term for it? To freeze time. Like
Ooh.
I kind of want to have the power of like time manipulation. And I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you could just do that," and then the internet answer would be, "Oh, I would do that and then take a nap."
Oh
Like,
my
no,
God, right.
I would want to have that power for a much deeper reason.
Right.
Like, sure, I would want to have the power to be like productive and that kind of thing, and be able to get stuff done without the day going by like everyone struggles with. But I feel
Right.
like I would want to have time manipulation for the sake of like spending more time with my loved ones, and being able
Right.
to stop time long enough for me to get the time that I want. And that way, if something happens to them, I know it wasn't wasted time.
I like that, Bunny. That's not cliche.
Well, I know a lot of people were like, oh, like time stopping is such like, it's a power that so many superheroes already have. And it's like, basically, like if you are familiar with X-Men or things like that, I mean, Quicksilver basically manipulates time by his speed solely. um
Mm.
but mine is from a different aspect. Mine is being able to voluntarily manipulate time and be able to stop it when I want to, not just when something happens to trigger it. I want to be able to like decide, okay, now is when we're stopping, and then I control it from there. And I
I
feel like
see.
the power that I would want wouldn't affect other people. I want it to affect like where I'm at in the general vicinity. So like if people were in
Oh.
that bubble, that's who gets stopped. Like that's where time freezes.
Oh.
So other people could go about their day and I wouldn't affect them. But in the bubble that I set or in the radius that I set is where the time is frozen, where time stops.
Right, right.
So if there's like a clock within that bubble, for instance, the clock would not be moving anymore. It would be just everyone can move freely, but the clock is just it's standing still.
Right.
So that's the kind of power that I would want. And I've had some time to think about it, and that's the power that I've decided on long ago was the power to manipulate time.
I like that. That's cool.
I mean, honestly, the moon power sounds really nice too. And I feel like there's a lot you can do with like the moon power. If you really think
Yeah.
It.
I could transform into clothes and outfits. Really fast.
I mean, I can think of quite a few situations where that would probably come in very handy.
Right. Be like, Bunny, let's go out to the bar. And you'd be like, I'd be like, wait, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me just change really quick. Bling! Okay, now I'm ready. Let's go. Ooh, my picture just flipped. Okay, cool.
And I know that was like kind of deep and philosophical, but like that's honestly what my answer would be to that question.
I like it.
I'm sure I would use it for like some, some other selfish reasons and stuff, but the main reason would be for the sake of my family.
Right, right.
Because I mean, would I use it to stop time and take a nap? Probably once in a while.
I would.
Like, probably like on those days that are just like particularly draining mentally, and I'm just like, all right, snap my fingers, I gotta take a nap.
Shoot, I would totally do that.
And I know a lot of people are like, well, would you use it to fight crime? I mean, it depends on what the crime is. Like, I know a lot of times in superhero movies, they're like, oh, someone's robbing a bank, freeze time and like, stop them. Which I could, but I would want it to go more towards crimes that are a little bit more insidious.
Right.
You want to say it that way? Like if someone's kidnapping a child or something like that, I could like freeze time and like save the kid and then, something like that. I don't really want it to be like the cliche, like someone's robbing a bank, stop them,
Right.
Because even if they rob a bank, you're still going to find that money at some point. The money is not a living thing.
Right.
To me, money is not that important anyway. I mean, does money pay bills? Yes, it does. It's a sustainable way of life, but you have a lot more limited time when it's a person that's in the crossfire versus like robbing a bank or a jewelry store, I guess.
Right.
Because if the person's kidnapping a kid, that kid is going to have a lot more limited time to find them and everything before something bad possibly happens to them.
100%.
That's what I would use it for. And I would also use it for like some cliche crimes, like if someone steps out in the street and a car is coming and they're about to get hit.
Ooh.
I would use it then too, because again, it's a person's life versus, like something that can be replaced. A car can be replaced.
Right. Oh, heck yeah.
I wouldn't be like Superman where I'm standing there and put my hand out and it crushes the whole side of the car.
Right. I mean,
if I stop time and pull the person out from in front of the car and then like move and then unfreeze time and the car goes on, then it's not really anything happened. So
Right.
But I'm not gonna be like Superman where I just destroy things while also saving people. Be like Edward out of Twilight where he crushes the side of the van to save Bella. No.
No. No.
But yeah, I mean, that's just the power that I would choose. But
I mean, if you have that, I'll hire you as my bodyguard, like for realness. Just let me know your rates.
just
I'll
let me
hire
know how
you.
much I owe you.
Right.
How much it is to hire you, and we'll work something out.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, as far as powers go, that would be 100% the power that I would have. Because I don't know, it's just something that I've thought about for a long time, and I'm like, yeah, that's something that I would want to have. And yeah, I'm very familiar with Quicksilver from X-Men because right along with horror movies, I grew up with superhero movies, and I grew up with basically a lot of fictional fantasy-based movies.
Right.
And X-Men just happened to be one of them. So
yeah. Well, like I used to be so obsessed with Storm.
Storm was
Obsessed.
everything. Storm was
oh.
probably the moment that I feel like a lot of people realized their sexuality in that moment.
Right. 100%.
They either wanted to be with her or they wanted to be her.
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of boys that were gay and didn't realize it probably saw her and was like, I want to be her.
Right.
I want to be Storm. I don't want to be with, I want to be Storm, which I wouldn't blame them, honestly. Because Storm was a baddie from the beginning. But between her and, what was her other name? Storm and the woman that could transform and shapeshift.
Oh, I don't know her name, but I know you're talking about, and she's blue, right?
Yes.
Like that.
Blue with like red hair.
Yeah. Oh. Lord.
I think a lot of people, she had the same effect over a lot of people, I think, too. Because I thought she was badass, honestly.
I think so too.
And then the same person that had the effect on me was not so much the Marvel universe, or not Marvel universe. I guess it's technically DC. Because I think Batman is DC. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while since I've interacted with the comic book world. But I had the same effect from Enchantress.
Oh, yes. It took me a while for me to I was like, Enchantress. Suicide Squad. Yes.
Enchantress had that same effect, and I was like, yeah. And I think they did a really good job. Like, I know a lot of people didn't care for Suicide Squad. They had their own issues with it. But I think they did a really good job with casting Sarah Delevingne for the part of Enchantress.
Hell yeah, she did a phenomenal job.
Just like they did a hell of a good job with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Oh, hell yeah. She is so perfect.
Yeah. Choosing her for Harley Quinn was the same. I think it was the same person that casted Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool. They were just on top of it.
Oh my God, yes.
Because we all know that Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds was a little bit of a cringe fest.
It was, not gonna lie.
But Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. You can't tell me there isn't a better pairing, because there isn't.
It's so like
It's like he was
it was
made
meant.
for that part.
Yeah, like they totally made like they knew they're gonna hire him, so they purposely wrote the whole story, the script, and everything, just for him. It just felt like
Exactly.
that.
They were like, yeah, this is gonna be him. And to be honest, even before he played Deadpool, if anyone is familiar with the comics of Deadpool, which I am because I'm a fan of his for a hell of a long time. Um, I watched Ryan Reynolds' previous parts in different movies. And when I heard that he was going to be casted for Deadpool, I was like, oh hell yes. They couldn't have chose anyone better because he's naturally charming yet sarcastic and kind of an asshole at times, but in a charming way.
Yeah, like in a really awkward, like charming way.
Like he's the kind of guy that would be an asshole to you, and you're like, I know you're being an asshole, but god damn it, I still like you.
Right. 100%.
Like that kind of person. I was like, yeah, that's Deadpool.
Oh my god.
And I love that they made Deadpool a bicon.
Right.
I love that because not a lot of superheroes, like it's always like the superheroes are like end up with like a woman or they end up with a man, but Deadpool is just like whatever. I'll
I roll my own boat. Right.
But yeah, also that I think they did a really good job for casting Domino too.
Domino.
Like in the second Deadpool movie.
Oh, I haven't seen the second one.
Okay, I'll just give you a heads up. You're gonna fall in love with Domino. I know I did. Domino is amazing. Just like the first thing that I loved about her was they chose a person of color, a woman of color.
Nice.
And I loved it. And she's so badass in the movie. And anyone who's familiar with the comics knows who Domino is. Domino, her power is luck.
Oh.
And I'll just leave it at that because it leads to some really comedic like scenes in the second movie with Domino, and I laughed till I couldn't breathe when I saw the movie. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I still have to see it. I to be honest, I don't know if there was a part 2 that came out.
I think they actually, if you went to the theaters or saw the original movie, it was actually a hidden scene at the end of the movie in the first one. Where Deadpool comes out and he's like, what are y'all still doing here? The movie's over. Go home. And he's like, oh, I'm guessing you're waiting for, a preview of the second Deadpool. He's like, well, we can't do that. We're out of the budget. And then he would come, breaking the fourth wall like Deadpool does. And he comes back and he goes, okay, he said, I'll tell you, it's gonna have Cable in it, which is Cable's one of the main people that Deadpool interacts with a lot, especially in the comics. And he's like, I think he's like a time traveler or a time jumper or something like that. But yeah, and it was like a hidden scene at the very end of the first movie. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, there's gonna be a second one.
Oh my god. Yeah, I need to look at it. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was super excited when they announced that, and I was like, hell yes. Because I was so in love with the first one, because I was so iffy about them making a Deadpool movie, because I had seen the casting for some of the other movies, like Green Lantern, for example.
Right, right.
Or the atrocity that is Batman now. Um, but when they announced who was going to be Deadpool, I was like, oh yeah, I got to see this now. I had to see this. It would be a crime if I didn't.
Oh my god.
Because I've always been like a Ryan Reynolds fan. I always thought he was so goddamn good looking.
He is so good looking.
And I'm like, it's the same thing with like, who is it? Chris Pratt that plays Star-Lord in
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. That was such a good fit too. Because Star-Lord is also
Oh my god.
kind of a sarcastic, charming asshole as well. But also, Chris Pratt is pretty amazing because he used to be a little bit on the chubbier side, but he lost a whole lot of weight and like
Yeah, that's why I heard
totally
too,
turned
right?
around. And I mean, he was still, to me, he was still good looking when he was on the chubbier side because I'm like, he was still hot in my opinion. um,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, they casted him for Star-Lord, and I was like, hell yeah. Not to mention, is it Zoe? I can't remember her last name. That played oh, what was her name?
Zoe.
Zaldana. That's what it is. Zoe Zaldana.
Okay, okay.
And she played what was her name in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Is she the alien?
She played the part of Star-Lord's love interest. She had like
She's green.
the green skin.
Green. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, what was her name? Gamora. That's what her name was. Her name was Gamora. And I loved her.
I love that.
Also, fun fact, if you've seen the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, Gamora's sister, that's like the cyborg, purple skin, like they're always fighting. She is played by the same woman who played Amy Pond in Doctor Who.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And she also played Ruby Roundhouse in Jumanji, the new Jumanji.
Wait, she was in there? Wait, oh my god. I'm still like okay, you're making me want to go watch all these movies again. Cause like oh my god.
And let me tell you, when she plays Ruby Roundhouse in the new Jumanji, she has got one hell of a body that I didn't even know she had. Like, and of course, I was used to her playing Amelia Pond, Amy Pond in Doctor Who, so they didn't really show a lot of her body because she was like, in a lot of jumpers and like baggy clothes and stuff. And I mean, she was still pretty no matter what, because I've always thought she was like very pretty, very pretty in Doctor Who. Rory was like the awkward nerd type that I absolutely fall in love with every time. And I can't remember the guy's name who played Rory, but I think he's been in a few other shows now. But yeah, her name is, I think is it Jillian or Lillian, something like that. But yeah, she's in the new Jumanji movie as Ruby Roundhouse, and she plays Gamora's sister in Guardians of the Galaxy, which you can't really tell because the makeup kind of hides that, which good on the makeup team because makeup is always killer in Hollywood, honestly.
Seriously?
You're
right.
Every time I bring up makeup in Hollywood, I always think to the movie Monster.
Monster.
With Charlize Theron.
Okay.
where
Is
she
that the one
played
where?
as
Right.
Eileen Wuornos.
Yes.
And
Oh,
like I remember seeing that movie and I'm like, oh my God, that's her.
they did something. They did something because she. I didn't know it was her when I was watching it. I was like, "Holy crap!" They
And they
did.
made her look so much
Wow.
like her too.
Right.
It was insane how much they made her look. Because Eileen Wuornos is a very real person. Anyone who's watching this, who's
Right.
familiar with true crime stuff, Eileen Wuornos is a very real person.
100%.
But they made her look so much like her in the movie. And like, no offense to like, don't take this the wrong way. Eileen Wuornos is not a pretty woman.
Hmm.
Um, but they made her look so much like her, and it was insane. And I think that accounts for like how much makeup count is in Hollywood to do this kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, for God's sakes, they took the guy who played in the Disney show Austin and Ally. I think his name was like Drew Lynch, and they made
Yeah.
him look like he literally played Jeffrey Dahmer in a movie.
Right.
And I was,
Right.
and when you put a side by side,
Hmm.
it is chilling how much he looks like Jeffrey Dahmer.
What What was the movie called?
The
It was
movie was from the perspective of Jeffrey Dahmer's friend in high school.
right.
It was called My Friend Dahmer.
My Friend Dahmer. Okay.
And it was chilling.
Damn.
But yeah, it was intense. So okay, I think we went on a really long tangent. Now
I love it.
I mean, we might as well play into like segue in, um, like let's segue into like true crime since we're kind of on that subject now.
Sure.
Um, are you interested in true crime, and if so, what true crime stories kind of piqued your interest?
Ooh. Um. Oh lordy. Um. I don't really have a particular favorite,
Mm-hmm.
but
I guess it's not so much favorite, but it's like you saw like maybe a short snippet or heard of it, and you're like, okay, now I gotta look into it because that
right,
sounds like some crazy shit.
right. I forgot what the guy's name. I don't think it's Jeffrey Dahmer, but then like it was a guy that was in Wisconsin who like killed a lot of women
Mm-hmm.
and like fillets their skin so he can walk around in in woman's skin
I want to
as
say
he act like a
I
woman.
want to say like, and I'm rusty on some of my true crime stuff. I want to say that was Ed Gein.
Ed Gein.
Yeah,
Yes.
I want to say that was him because he had a lot of stuff like made out of human skin. It was weird.
Right. Ed Gein.
Like he had a whole ass belt made out of like human flesh. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Like I was like, why?
Right.
Just on that line alone, I might have to like age restrict this video.
Lordy.
But like, I'm just being honest. Like anyone, this is like public information. You can look up Ed Gein and read all about it. And like it was true. He had a lot of stuff that was made out of human flesh, and it was weird.
Right.
Um, I think the true crime thing that piqued my interest originally was growing up and hearing a lot about Charles Manson. And that
Oh.
was like the true crime thing that like sparked it for me, that got me into true crime kind of, was hearing the stories about Charles Manson and how fucked up it was.
Manson. Please refresh me my memory. What does he do again?
Charles Manson was a cult leader. You might as well say. He ran a group. He had a group of people at a ranch in like the desert of California. And it was called the Manson family. And he didn't do the killing himself. He brainwashed his cult members to do the killing for him. And he had like a whole plan to start like a race war and kill celebrities and stuff. And his excuse was like for the sake of the environment and like to make the world better and that kind of thing. And his biggest crime that caused him and most of his family to go to prison was the murder of Sharon Tate. And Sharon Tate, basically, his followers, I think it was like 3 or 4 of them, broke into her house, slayed her and her friends. And before they killed Sharon, okay, this gets like just a warning. This gets really graphic, just so the audience out there. Before they killed Sharon, they like cut her baby out of her.
I remember now. I mean, I heard of that now.
And it was really fucked up. And like apparently people that interviewed him while he was in prison, they said they would step into the room and you could just feel like the evil and the creepiness when you would like step into the room with him.
Oh lordy, he got some demons in him.
Oh yeah,
or something.
And then that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of like all true crime stuff, like John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy.
Oh, another gross one.
John Wayne Gacy was probably the primary reason why I don't like clowns.
Wait, he's the one that was murdering the kids, right?
I think he was murdering like grown men, kids, and like hiding them around his property.
Right.
But yeah, he was a party clown by day.
That's right.
And he would like be a clown at kids' birthday parties and stuff. And he would paint clowns because he was actually a really talented artist. But for some reason, when you're a talented artist, you turn into a lot of more evil shit in history.
Right.
But John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ed Gein. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's a lot of men killers. But there was women killers.
Oh, heck yeah.
Like Eileen Wuornos that we mentioned. There was a really old case called Jolly. It was a woman named Jolly Jane. And that was some twisted shit too. Yeah, she was a nurse actually. And she would like purposely poison people that she was like taking care of and like make them sick to the point where she like killed them off. And no one suspected her because she was always like in a really happy, chipper mood, and no one really expected it to be her.
Didn't she collect like the patient's ID or whatever too, or like their tag for all the victims?
I think that might have been her. If not, it could have been someone else. I think there was another woman that was a nurse that was a serial killer. Okay. But that might have been her. I'm not sure. There was a lot of different women killers. Like there's Casey Anthony, which we're all pretty familiar with.
Right.
And she wasn't so much, I don't think she was a serial killer, she was just a killer.
Right.
But we actually had a serial killer here in my state. A couple of them actually. But the most notable one was Michael Swango. And he was a doctor that killed his patients.
Damn. I don't think
And,
we have any serial killers at where I'm
oh, the fun part about where I live, Ohio, we're the number one
at.
capital for serial killers, apparently.
Mm.
Not the most um, proud achievement for this state, but
Right.
you take what you get.
Right. 100%.
We also had, I think I mentioned this to either to you or to someone else, but we had the 22 caliber killers.
Oh, I think you mentioned that to me. Yeah.
And they were two, I don't know if they were two brothers or if they were just two friends or something like that. But they were
Right.
actually held in the jailhouse not too far from me before they were shipped off to the original state penitentiary that we had.
Right.
Also, I love how you're drawing this really amazing, epic, like demon
Oh my
kind
God.
of thing, and I'm over here drawing Jason Voorhees.
I love it. I know one thing that I suck that's about the Zoom thing is that I can't see your drawing. I have to like literally like get out of my program or whatever
Yeah.
to look at yours. I don't know where this came from, y'all.
I mean, it
This is a
looks really
creature.
good.
Okay. I'm gonna use the bathroom really quick.
Oh, that's
Is
fine.
that okay? Okay. So I'm trying to figure out.
Actually, I could just like pause the recording. So about the okay, I think we're still talking about true crime. My mind is somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I've always been kind of into true crime and like murder documentaries, and like I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh, that's weird for you to be like so kind and quiet and be into murder documentaries." And I'm like, just because I watch it doesn't mean I'm gonna murder somebody. Like, calm down.
Right.
Like, calm down.
Exactly. 100%. Like people like look at my art sometimes, and like especially my family, and they're like, "Oh my God, like Khooblah's best."
Not just that, but
So I'm
I
like,
feel like maybe
doesn't
you
mean
get
I'm possessed.
I feel like maybe you get the same question because I've drawn some really dark stuff and some really disturbing stuff. And it's not always been because I do draw event art, but I don't post my event art because, it's my personal struggle that I'm illustrating.
Sure.
But even the stuff that I put out there that's a little bit on the disturbing side, I'll get people asking, like, are you okay?
Right. Same.
Like, do you need to talk? And I'm like, no, this is what I draw.
100%.
And I'm like, no, I promise you I'm okay. Like, do I have my struggles? Yes, I do, but I don't post that. I don't post that kind of art. Unless
Right.
someone wants to see it and they're like totally okay with seeing like the stuff that that I deal with inside my own head. But again, that's from a consensual standpoint of like, yeah, let me see your vent art and like, what you make out of your mental health.
Yeah, like
So,
let me tell you a funny story. So like so my partner now, I remember when we first met, he didn't know that I was an artist until I started painting.
mhm.
And like I think I was painting like just like streaks of color, just kind of like red, black, red, white, whatever. And then like he came up to me, he's like, "Oh my gosh, you should probably draw something for us to like hang on the walls in in our apartment." And I was like, "Are you sure about that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And I was like, "Okay." So then I started drawing, and then he looked at me, and I think I drew. It was kind of like this demon picture, but then it was a woman's face instead, with her tongue sticking out,
Mhm.
and then I was writing the word liar all over her.
Yeah.
And then like he was looking at, he was like, "Oh Jesus, what the frick?"
Just like,
And I was like, "Do you still want me to hang this picture?" He's like, "Can you draw something nice?" And I was like, I don't know if I can. This is my style. Like, I could try to draw a flower if you want me to, but it's not gonna look as good as you expected." And then like also I joined when I was in college. I joined this art fair, and they were at first, like, because my college, they're very, like, I went to a really Christian conservative college, and so this whole time, like, I don't I try not to draw as much because I was scared. I mean, because of course, like, I went to a Christian college, so the judgment's real. And like I went to one of my missions trips that was downtown Minneapolis, and it was like a art institute area for the homeless. So whoever that's homeless, they can advertise your artwork there, and people can come in the art studio, buy the artwork and stuff like that. So it's really an awesome organization,
yeah.
promoting homeless artists. And so while we were there, the I guess the owner of that organization was telling us that, hey, this is your opportunity. If you have something that's, if you're creative or whatever, and if you want to portray your artwork, this is your moment. And so I was like, ooh. And then like I did mention that. I was like, well, like, my art is different. And then the guy was like, is it different as in terms of nudity? And I was like, sort of, but not really. And then so he's like, well, why don't you just go ahead, do a mural, draw whatever you want, and like, because it is a safe place for whoever wants to portray their art. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So what ended up happening was, during that time, it was what was it? I'm trying to remember. Um, there was a theme about forgiveness. I think that was the theme for the whole art session at night. And so like
Mhm.
artists from all around the world, or art from around their area that are homeless, like they were drawing something that describes what forgiveness is for them. And so what I did was
I
I
love how you transition it. So what I did.
I made a stick. Well, I made a cross out of sticks that I gathered from outside, and then like I drenched like a black cloth in red, so it kind of looks like blood. And then like I vigorously tied those two like sticks together, and it's like a huge, uh, maybe 3 foot cross. And like I was tying it, and then like I was splattering like black ink all over it, so it looks like it was painted, and there was like blood coming out from the cross. And then all around the cross there was like portraits of blood, like all over. And then so like I did that, and then the guy at the organization like pulled me aside, and he's like, "This is interesting. I love your portrayal of forgiveness. Can you please go more in depth of like you what this art portrays forgiveness means to you?" And then I was like, well, like in my head, if you guys don't know, like it was Jesus' blood that set the sinners free or whatever.
Mhm.
And so that was my intake. Like this blackness, this ink is tainted. It's contaminated. It's all of our deepest, darkest desires and our darkest secrets. And this blood is what represents that. And something like that. And then he was like, oh yeah, I like that. Like, I actually like your art. So then he told me to come back another time outside of the mission trip. So then I started drawing like 4 big portraits of demons. He told me to come back. So I drew these big, huge portraits of demon, and then like I shattered all these glass, and then like I put it in the middle between all these demons. And so basically, when you're looking at the mirror, it's all cracked and everything, and then outside of the mirrors, you see those 4 demons.
Yeah.
So that my artwork wasn't displayed because of the graphic demon portraits. But my intake was like, when you look at yourself, you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're broken, it's all because of these demons. You know, we all have these demons. And the demons are like, I drew a demon of lust, I drew a demon of jealousy, I drew a demon of greed, and I think I drew a demon of sexuality. So like there's all these demons that are like portraying those type of areas. So that I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was amazing. But they didn't post it.
Honestly, it sounds pretty badass to me.
Yeah, I thought it was good. But you know, it's
like I will be the first to fully disclose that I am not a religious person.
That's okay.
I didn't grow up very religious. We didn't really go to church or anything like that. And not to say that I don't believe in forces greater than us, but I just don't believe in the same forces, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because since I am Celtic and Nordic pagan, my forces are a little bit different than the traditional Christian or Catholic ideology.
Right.
So, yeah. Right. But anything to like, I do very much believe there are demons or some kind of evil entities that persuade us to do something. Or there are things that just aren't comfortable with in ourselves.
Yeah.
Or what I identify with the most, and it's like trauma that we went through. And like, it's just like the whole thing of when you're a Satanist, you don't worship the Satan that's portrayed in Christian ideology.
No, not at all.
You worship a completely different figure.
Right.
So, and it's just like in paganism or neo-paganism, there's some people that work with deities that, you know, one of them being Lucifer, but he's not the Lucifer that a lot of people know, basically.
Right.
And it's a totally different person, or I should say figure, entity. But yeah, I've actually studied a lot of demonology, not so much so that it's like I can say I'm a professional at it, but it's definitely something that's always interested me. And I've learned a lot about demons and what they specifically portray in and outside of Christianity. So the idea of a portrait that portrays something like that is actually pretty badass in my opinion.
Thank you.
And I also feel like it sometimes is hard, and I don't want to call out hypocrisy in you know, in religions, because even though there is quite a bit of it in some areas, but they didn't display the picture. But I feel like that comes more from a place of like you don't really want to face what the truth is, because even if you're highly religious, and I know some people out there that are highly religious, you don't really want to face the fact of, even if you're following your religion to the T, there's still going to be things that you do that are going against what your ideology is spelling out, basically.
Right.
So people don't really want to face the fact of like, oh, these demons are ever present, but I don't want to acknowledge that they're present. I just want to believe that I'm constantly bathing in the blood of, whatever entity I worship, and it's very much a thing where you just can't accept it. And that's kind of, even though it's preached in everyday religion of like, you're a sinner no matter what, you just have to not let it eat you alive, basically.
Right.
Which there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. Everyone, has their own variation of sin, no matter what religion you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the point of like, don't lose yourself to it.
Right, which I did.
I mean, there's a difference between being true to your sexuality as you were created.
Right.
No matter what people say, and I know that's very controversial, but it's how you were created. But there's a difference between that and doing something that's very much not only a sin, but it's against every moral standard of society.
Right.
And drag and sexuality is not really going against a moral standard. Some people might think it is, but it's not going against a moral standard. It is being true to how the universe or God or whoever you believe and worship is, how they created you, how you were brought forth upon the earthly plane, as they would say. It's the same thing. Like, there's a whole creation story around transgender folk, like based in Greek mythology, if you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
There's like a whole creation story of like Apollo got drunk and put people in the wrong bodies. And that's how they say that transgender were created. Was Apollo got drunk and he would put people in the wrong humanly forms, basically.
Oh my God.
So, and I mean, to me, that's a pretty badass creation story, if you ask me.
Honestly, at least they mentioned transgender compared to,
and it's just a product of a god being like, it's an off day.
It's an off day. I love that.
But it's still, to me, it's a really interesting creation story, and I think a lot more transgender folk need to read into that, because to me, that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
And people will be like, well, he was drunk, it wasn't a good thing. No, you don't know Greek mythology, do you?
Right.
Apollo and every Greek god were totally different. But to be created by gods, specific gods, was not something that was taken lightly in Greek mythology. Like, if you were created in the image of Zeus, or in the light of Zeus, or in any of these specific gods, you were a very well-favored person, basically. So
right.
If you're created by Apollo,
you're pretty much like
whether Apollo was drunk or not, you were still created by Apollo.
I mean, you're seen as a god, to be honest.
Like, yeah, to a degree of it. I'm not sure if demigod would be the correct term. But
oh, right.
but to a degree, yeah.
Right.
Like, even if you were favored by some of the gods in Greek mythology, it was a big thing.
Right.
Like, people would look at you and be like, wait, you're favored by Zeus? Well, I ain't fucking with you.
Right. It's like, oh, he's a son of Zeus. Okay.
And even if you were like a mortal, but you were favored by the gods in Greek mythology, you were a force to be reckoned with, basically. Because there's a whole story of Odysseus, I think is what his name was. I could be pronouncing that wrong. But it's called the story of the stories from the Odyssey is what it's called. And Odysseus was went to war. He disappeared, but he was favored by the god Zeus. Or no, not I might be getting mixed up. No, it was Achilles that was favored by the god Zeus. So when you went against Achilles, you went against Zeus. So luck was not on your side if you went against Zeus.
Ooh.
And but even the story Odysseus, I can't, a lot of Greek names are hard for me to pronounce. Even then, he was friends with Athena. Like, he was favored by Athena, the goddess of war herself.
Oh, Bunny, I think you got cut off because I can't hear you.
Oh, what about now? Hello?
Oh, yeah, Bunny, I think you got cut off. Bunny, I can't hear you. Oh, there you go. I can hear you now.
Okay. But Odysseus was friends with Athena, the goddess of war herself.
Oh.
Who's going to go against Athena? But I mean, if you were favored
the foolish.
That's true. Yeah, probably the foolish.
The drunk.
The foolish or the drunk, one of the two. Or the drunk and foolish.
Right.
It's usually drunk and foolishness often go hand in hand if you think about it.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I mean, I would suggest anyone who's watching, if you're into Greek mythology, if you've already read the story, then you know exactly what. Are we cutting out again?
Yeah, we're cutting it out again. It was like in, out, in, out. Okay, do this. Okay, for those that are watching, we're getting technology has very Bunny, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
My headset just died.
Oh my god.
Holy crap.
Technology's just like, listen.
Listen and listen. No. But yes, as you were saying, Bunny, go for it before you got cut off.
I was just saying that yeah, a lot of if you were favored by the gods or anything like that, you were pretty much set. So, but besides that, I mean, if anyone's into Greek mythology or you're wanting to get into it, I would suggest stories from the Odyssey. It's a really good introduction to Greek mythology. So yeah.
Okay. Really quickly here, Bunny, before we continue on, do you hear like an echo?
I do not.
Okay, because my headset died, so it automatically like convert to my Galaxy's audio.
Yeah, I don't hear any echo. It's perfectly clear, just like it was before.
Oh, perfect then, because I can't tell on my end, so I just want to make sure. So All right. As we were talking, whole technology. Oh my God. Um,
Technology's been awful,
who
but
was your
it
favorite?
has.
Eh, heck yeah. I agree with you. I was gonna say, who was your favorite geek, geek, Greek god?
Um, Originally, when I actually first got into Wicca and paganism, originally
Uh-huh.
I actually was really drawn to Athena, come to mention it. And
Oh.
I still kind of am.
Hmm.
I wasn't really drawn to Aphrodite or anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, Aphrodite is, as they say in the Greek mythology, she's a very gorgeous, womanly figure.
Yes.
And a lot of people were entranced by Aphrodite.
And God, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, Athena was always my first go-to. And like it's funny because I'm not really a confrontational person, but I still had to draw into like the goddess of war.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I am still drawn to her, but I'm more drawn to like Epona, who's more of a Celtic based,
Mm,
and I think Hecate is actually a Greek based goddess too. I think
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
she was another one that I was kind of drawn to in the beginning too, was Hecate. Um, as far as Norse paganism goes, I was always drawn to like Loki, um, Hela, I think is what her name is. Um, Hela is actually a very interesting character. Um, I believe she was the I believe she was half zombified, half human.
Mm.
Was I think I might have to look that up. Sometimes I get my gods and goddesses confused from different backgrounds.
I mean, there's a lot.
There is, I mean, but they're also very interesting to. I feel like they're also very forgiving if sometimes you're like, no, this is not it. This is not it. And they're like, it's okay, take your time.
Right, right. And like I think one thing that I appreciate about like the Greek gods and goddesses is that like they can really relate.
Mhm.
You know, like they've experienced jealousy, they've experienced pain, they've experienced war within themselves as well as, you know, like they were like, you know, like I guess what I would say is pretty much like us human beings, but with superpowers. So they're so like they relate to us a lot.
Mhm.
Well, based on like what my research is, because I was in my own, you know, corner researching them as well. I'm trying to figure out like the back end stories of who is who and what and whatnot. But in a lot of these stories I relate to. And so yeah, I mean I don't know what I was going through, what I was trying to say, but but
Mhm.
like they're just, you know, like they do portray as or can relate to us definitely in that field.
So her name is Hel, H,
Heal.
and in Norse mythology, it was originally the name of the world of the dead, and later became to mean the goddess of death. Hel was one of the children of the trickster god Loki. So she is, in fact, the daughter of Loki.
Oh,
And her kingdom was said to lie downward and northward. It was called Niflheim or Niflheim for the world of
okay.
darkness, and appears to have been divided into several sections, one of which is Nostrad, the shore of corpses. There stood a castle facing north. It was filled with venomous serpents, in which murderers, adulterers, and perjurers suffered torment, while the dragon Needhog, could be pronouncing that so wrong, sucked the blood from their bodies. Just that, delicious.
Absolutely delicious.
So apparently Krampus, which you've probably heard of before,
yes,
is actually he is the son of Heel. According to legend, he is the son of Heel, the Norse god of the underworld.
Interesting.
With the spread of Christianity, Krampus became associated with Christmas despite efforts by the Catholic Church to ban him. The creature and St. Nicholas are said to arrive on the evening of December 5th, Krampusnacht or Krampus night. While St. Nicholas rewards nice children by leaving presents, Krampus beats those who are naughty with branches and sticks.
Right.
In some cases, he is said to eat them or take them to hell.
Right.
Nice.
I know about the hell. I don't know about the eat part, but I don't know about the hell part.
Krampus is believed to have originated in Germany. So my home country.
Well.
And his name derives from the German word Krampen, which means claw.
Claw. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And it's really interesting that Norse mythology and kind of German background also kind of cross over each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find really interesting. And of course, we played with, who was it? Crazy the Man?
Yes, Crazy the Man.
On your Twitch stream, which again, I will link down in the description for anyone watching. Because I am a pretty frequent person on Khooblah's channel. But he is from Denmark, if I remember right. And he is also pretty familiar with the whole Norse mythology, like Viking based, kind of.
Yeah, because he is blood Viking in his eyes.
Now, granted, I don't know how far Norse spreads. I don't know if it was like it's just part of Europe. I don't know if it was like just in Netherlands and Denmark and stuff. I don't know if it spread clear to Germany. I'm not sure. I'm not going to claim to be a professional on that, but but I've always been very interested in Norse background. So when I discovered that I was pagan, it just seemed kind of like a no-brainer to be Norse and Celtic. Celtic kind of deriving from like my Irish background. And it's always been like a really, I guess, interesting part of paganism too. So, but yeah, if I remember right, like going back to asking you questions, you mentioned that you were practicing, right?
Yeah. I guess I would just say like I'm just kind of looking for my own spiritual path, I would say.
So like basically your own spiritual path.
Yeah. So like I'm just kind of like, I mean, I'm a huge believer in like energies and stuff like that. Like I believe in karma, of course. Like I believe in bad juju and stuff like that. It is something that I haven't fully come out of the closet yet.
Which again is valid because I mean, when I kind of picked up on it, I was unsure, but the only thing that kind of made me confident in telling my family about this path that I was following spiritually was the fact that my family was never really highly religious or like focused on really anything. I mean, my grandmother grew up in a household that, yeah, they were Christian, but they didn't go to church because my grandfather or my great grandfather was a highly firm believer in that you didn't have to go inside of a building to worship. You could worship out in the open. So,
that's nice.
And so when I told my grandmother, the most she said to me was just, you're not getting into trouble, so I don't care. So she was like, as long as her only thing was, and I don't really see where this fits in, maybe someone watching who is also pagan or practicing Wicca, they might know where this comes in, but her rule was no Ouija boards, which I don't have a problem following whatsoever because I get bad vibes from Ouija boards no matter what.
Right. Like I guess like for me, like I have touched a little bit of everything in terms of like spiritual practice.
Yeah.
So like I'm just kind of in this path of morphing all of them in one.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of saying.
But again, it's valid to not know what spiritual path you're taking or not be taking one at all. I mean, anyone who happens upon my community, and I feel like your community too, if you come in and you're Christian or Catholic, or if you're pagan, or if you're atheist, if that's what your path is, I don't really care.
Right.
It doesn't affect me. And, it's not something that I'm going to jump down anyone's throat about, because as long as you respect me and the people that are in my community, I don't really care what spiritual path you're following.
Right.
I mean, I have a friend who's a Satanist, and they're like one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. So for me, it's not really a matter of what you follow. It's a matter of how you treat people.
100%.
And that goes for other aspects besides religion too.
Yeah.
And I don't care what sexuality you are. I don't care who you're in love with. I don't care what color your skin is.
Right.
I none of that affects me. But the first time that you try to make it affect me, that's when we're gonna have to talk. That's when we're gonna have to talk.
That's when you're gonna have to pray really hard.
Yeah. Because I don't care for when people try to use religion as a crutch. That's when I start to get a little iffy about it. And that's not just about the religions that everyone knows about: Christianity, Catholicism. Because I know people that use paganism as a crutch too.
Right.
And don't use your religion as a crutch, and certainly don't try to convert people.
Please don't. That's a bad human being. We have enough of bad people right now.
Like we don't need that.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of, and it happens, and I hate to say it, but there's bad people in every group. It's kind of something we have to acknowledge, unfortunately. Like even in the alphabet mafia, the LGBTQIA+, there's people that try to convert other people, and don't do that. That just makes us look bad. That makes us look like we really do have some kind of gay agenda, and the only gay agenda we ever have is what the hell we're gonna eat in the morning.
Right. 100%.
Or what pride parade we're gonna go to that day. Like, that's the only agenda we follow.
Love that.
But it's just I don't know, it's just weird stuff like that don't try to convert people. That's all I ask. Just show some respect. Go into any situation open-minded, which is really
Right.
not that hard if you really think about it. Like, you can agree to disagree, but just disagree respectfully.
100%. And it's okay. It's okay to disagree.
Like,
You
anyone
know?
can come on here and I could say something and they'd be like, well, I don't really care for that. And I'd be like, that's fine. You know,
And yeah, that is fine.
I mean, it's just like, I think it was Ollie that was playing with us. Was it Ollie or was it Toru? One of them. When I mentioned that I like onion rings or like things like that, and they're like, I don't really care.
Toru.
And I'm like, that's fine. Not everyone likes the certain things,
I'm
Like, it
still
can be,
shocked. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
but it can be as simple as
Whatever.
being like, I like this food. Well, I don't like this food. That's fine.
Right.
I'm not gonna turn around and try to shove cheese sticks down someone's throat.
I was gonna do it, Toru. I was like, Toru, change your mind now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But it's just, it's as simple as just agreeing to disagree.
Right.
And it doesn't have to end in like disgusting words, and it certainly doesn't have to end in violence. Don't even get me started on that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, anyone who comes into my community, no matter what you are, you're welcome as long as you welcome others, basically. So
Yeah. Oh, shoot. What am I doing?
and if you're not willing to welcome others and you want to be a disrespectful little shit, that's when I get to snatch your kneecaps. Because you obviously don't need them anymore.
And if you do that, your mom's a hoe. Just kidding. You can delete
But
that.
in all honesty, like, jokes aside,
Yeah.
like, as long as you come in respectful and with an open mind to what's going on and you're not a bigoted little shithead, then you're very welcome. Otherwise, I have absolutely no problem bringing down the ban hammer on anybody.
100%.
So,
100%.
but
I don't know what I'm doing.
I think we can start kind of wrapping it up a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
Since it's going on 8 o'clock my time. But I guess for the last 10 minutes, we can kind of give our final thoughts on everything. Like,
Yeah.
if you have any, like, maybe parting advice or anything like that, feel free to share it.
Yeah. Parting advice. One thing that I want people to really, like, for all the little Khooblahs that's out there, I do want to say that it's gonna get hard. Life is not easy. There's gonna be a lot of challenges for you to find who you are as a person. There's gonna be a lot of challenges of people challenging who you are as a person. But just know that, it gets better down the road. And I feel that there's a lot of people out there that are so engulfed in their own demons, for example, or they're so engulfed in their own struggles that they just can't see the light on the other side of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
My word of advice for that is, it's there. Just hang on. Because I've been through so much stuff, I've talked to so many people that they keep telling me that they're stuck, they're not going anywhere. But I just encourage them. I'm like, hey, if I can do it, anyone else can. So if you're in that rut, if your mind's in the gutter, if whatever you're at, just know it gets better. And that's my words. Demons or demons or whatever, but these are demons. And hang on,
Yes.
I don't know what I'm saying. It's the wine that's talking. I'm just kidding. But yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
I
course.
had fun. This is fun. This is really fun. Like, I can't wait for my next interview. down the road after your whole list. Or like we should have like just little drawing sessions.
Yeah. Especially when technology
Chill.
decides to be a little bit better.
Yeah, 100% right. But I definitely appreciate this.
Of course.
Like especially like for you, Bunny, where you're able to accept who I am. You're the first person that like that I showed my art to that's within our internet group.
Mhm.
And I just want to say that took a lot of guts from me, but also like that means so much to you because I completely felt comfortable showing my art to you, and that means a lot.
I mean,
So,
it's always a very, very big honor when people want to not only tell me that they're an artist, but also go out of their way to show me their work. And because it takes a lot from a personal perspective to show your art to people because you never know how they're going to perceive it.
exactly.
And I definitely am always honored when someone comes forward to show their work, especially their most vulnerable work.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy. I think that was another reason why I really wanted to do this
Mhm.
podcast style um, interview thing to bring people forward and let them create in whatever way they want to, and let people see that you really can be creative no matter who you are.
100%.
So, but to close out thoughts, um, I really appreciate everyone who's watching. Um, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. I always appreciate the support on everything I do.
Mhm.
I think this went a lot smoother than our first take of the first episode, um, despite everything. But also, I wanted to bring attention since we do have Khooblah on here. Um, Khooblah is an Asian American creator.
Yes.
As he mentioned before, he is Hmong American.
Yep.
And I think it's important that we're recording this right now in the month of Asian American and Pacific Islander month.
Yes.
And with that being said, I think it's important now more than ever for people to support the Stop Asian Hate hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to get your voice out there, be an ally to Asian Americans, to anyone of Asian descent, Asian communities that really need our voice and our help. Um, and I'll also link down below where you can go to help either financially or just to spread the word.
Right.
Um, and most importantly, if you are white or any other ethnicity besides Asian, please educate yourself, and not just on culture, but what is currently going on in today's climate.
Mm-hmm.
And please consider supporting Asian creators, whether it be YouTubers, Twitch streamers, artists, small businesses ran by lovely, lovely Asian people. Please do so, because their voice only reaches so far with the suppression that our society gives them. We are the ones that have to amplify their voices.
Love that. Thank you so much for doing that, Bunny.
And
It means a lot.
Khooblah is a very important person in my life, and I can't imagine him not being in my life, let alone anyone thinking of hurting him just for his descendancy. And he, plus many others, need to have their voices put out there and be supported just as well as any other race, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's our lovely indigenous people, Latino, Hispanic, anyone who is not of Europe descent need to have us on their side. So
Oof,
so I'll close out with that, because I think it's a very important thing to put out there.
Thank you so much.
But with that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning in to this first episode. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had fun listening to our banter and our mini tangents that we went on. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next episode. Who will it be? We don't know yet. But
ooh, exciting.
thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate you being the first person that I get to interview.
Thank you for allowing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying that I appreciate having you on here and taking your time out of your day to hop on my little podcast here and just kind of share some stuff about you. And not only I get to learn stuff, but people at home watching get to learn stuff. So
yeah, no problem. And I just want to say thank you for having me, for trusting me to be in your platform. I think that itself is a lot of bravery on your end. And I just want to say that I am so honored to be your first guest, and I had so much fun. And I keep saying and but like, all in all, like, yeah, you're such a great friend of mine. I have so much respect for you. So like, if you need anything, I mean, hello, I'm right here. So anything for you, Bunny.
I appreciate it. I really do. And I can only hope that this podcast format, whether it continues this way or it continues on my Twitch stream, it doesn't matter. I just kind of want to do it to highlight creatives and get people on here to create no matter what.
I love that.
So, but yeah, I think we can say our goodbyes, and then I will end the recording and I can get this baby into the editing software.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like as closing remarks, again, you can Bunny and I, we Twitch, so you can definitely find us on Twitch. My Twitch name is Khooblah Khon, Khooblah_Khon. Bunny is Psycho. I can't screw up your Twitch name, so why don't you introduce or say your Twitch name one more time?
My Twitch name is Psycho Rabbit, all one word, capital S, capital R. Most people just call me Bunny on the channel, but my username is Psycho Rabbit. I will probably link my channel below as well, but of course Khooblah will be first because he is our lovely guest.
Aw.
I appreciate everyone at home watching. I hope you had a good time. Yes. You drew along. I would love to see your art. Yes. Either DM me on Instagram or join my Discord. I always love seeing the community create. So with that, I'll see you guys next week. Stay safe, stay hydrated. Yes. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Dang it. I'm just kidding.
Bye-bye, everyone.